Erev Tov, everyone. Erev Tov. Welcome. It is Monday night. It is 8 p.m. here on the east side of the United States, here in the diaspora. This is the House of Seven Beggars. Therefore, it must be Zeta Story Corner. Yes, once again, Zeta's Story Corner. We're going to be continuing on with the stories of the silly world of Helm. And let's see who we have in the chat room. We have Regina. Regina, my dear, good to see you. Yeah, Regina. Regina and I are cooking up a little project, and we'll fill you in more on it later. Okay, so we have Regina, we have Donald, we have Veronica, Colleen, and Kelsey Lynn. And I'm sure Marshall has just joined us, and I'm sure there are others who are going to be joining us as we go along. Yeah, as we go along, as usual. And those who are watching in the background who don't want to be in the chat, we're glad you're here anyway. So maybe someday you'll feel comfortable enough to get into the chat room. It's a good group. Yeah, it is a good group, and they don't bite very hard either. Yeah, no, they don't bite at all. But anyway, so we're going to be continuing on with the stories tonight. And any announcements? No, I don't think of it. I can't think of anything. Okay, so I can't think of anything either. So I guess we get on with the stories. Yeah, okay, we get on with the stories. Oh, Rabbi Moshe from Tzvat is with us. Nice to have you, Rabbi. Okay, so David Berger has just joined us. So and those of you who are familiar with Rabbi Moshe, subscribe to his page. Yeah, subscribe to his page. He's got a lot of fantastic videos on there, and maybe someday we get them to tell a story. Yeah, maybe someday. Yeah, maybe someday we'll get him to tell a story for us. Anyway, he's got a couple of really wonderful stories. So without further ado, let's get you on your camera, and we will get on with the stories. So here I am. We are ready to start our stories for this evening. We are going to start this today with this one is called The Visitor. What's up? I think I actually know this guy. You do? Yeah, I think I actually know him from the old world. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, because it sounds a lot like okay. Well, why don't we get on with the story, and then you can let us know if it's somebody that you actually know or not. Okay, so anyway, once upon a time, in the little village of Helm, a rabbi from a nearby community passed the house of Yankel, the farmer. Excuse me, kind sir, the rabbi began. Could you direct me to the house of Friedman, the wool merchant? Friedman. Of course, Friedman, the wool merchant. Do you know him well? Asked the old rabbi. Do I know him well? Listen, he is my best friend. So, what can you tell me about him? Exclaimed the rabbi. What can I tell you? What do you want to know? First, if you are involved in any business dealings with him, I must warn you, sew up your pockets. He's a gonif, a thief. He's cruel to his help. He squeezes them for all they are worth. He is a dishonest man, an evil man, and a man who doesn't even go to shul on Yom Kippur. Nobody likes him. The old rabbi was shocked. How can you be sure of all these things? He asked. How? Replied Yunkel. Didn't I just tell you? He's my best friend. I think I know him. Okay, well, I guess we have to know all kinds of people. Okay, anyway. Okay, this one is called the window washer of Helm. Okay, once upon a time, in the little village of Helm, Shlomo the farmer decided to go into a new business. No, his wife Rachel asked, so what kind of business will you go into? I have decided to become a window washer, Shlomo announced. You see, all our good friends have houses. And when it comes to washing windows, they are very concerned about sitting out on the window ledge. So I purchase a ladder and be able to wash all their windows in no time at all. So the following day, Shlomo went to the village and with his last few zlotus purchased a 25-foot ladder. Now I am perfectly equipped, he said to himself as he marched towards the house of the old sage of Helm. He knocked on the door, and the old sage greeted him. It is good to see you, Shlomo, the old sage began. What are you doing with that leather? Oh, I have become a professional window washer, Shlomo explained. Would you like to be my first customer? Why not? Replied the old sage. How much would you charge to wash the windows of the second floor? Shlomo looked at the windows and exclaimed, That will be 5 zlotas a window. So much. Why so much? Inquired the old sage. Why? Guessed Shlomo. Because those windows are pretty high up. You think it's easy climbing up and down this ladder with a bucket of water? The old sage smiled warmly and asked, Well, and how much will you charge me to wash the basement windows? Shlomo thought for a moment, took out a pencil and pad. He did some quick calculations. For the basement windows, it will cost you 10 zlotas. 10 zlotas for the basement windows? You just told me you would charge me 5 zlotas to wash the second floor windows. So why twice as much to wash the basement windows? My dear sage, replied Shlomo, do you realize how long it will take me just to dig the holes to fit the ladder in to wash the basement windows? The old sage nodded in agreement. Indeed, that is a problem. So tell me, how much would it be if I helped you dig the holes? Ay, what can I say? Okay. Oh my goodness. Olga has joined us. Good to see you, Olga. Okay, so this story is called The World of Credit. It was a time of inflation in the tiny village of Hell. Prices on all food items began to increase. One day, two of the wise men of Helm were drinking a cup of tea. Tell me, my dear friend, the first Helmite said, isn't it silly the world that we live in? When a rich man goes to the store to make a purchase, he is given credit. and does not have to pay in cash. But when a poor man such as myself goes into a store, he must pay cash. Indeed, exclaimed his friend, it's unfair. Actually, it should be the other way around. The rich should pay cash, and the poor should be given credit. I cannot understand the logic of this foolishness, said the first man. Let's go to the sage of Helm, the wisest man in our village, and see if he can help us with this injustice. So the two men ran to the house of the sage and explained their problem. The sage thought for a moment and then said, indeed, a perplexing problem. Come with me to Mendel, the merchant. He is much wiser in such matters. So the three men went to Mendel the merchant. Tell me, dear Mendel, the old sage asked, you give credit to the rich, but you make the poor pay cash. Shouldn't it be the other way around? The rich pay in cash, and the poor are giving credit? Ah, said Mendel, you see, dear sage, I am a rich man. If I gave credit to the poor, I would soon be poor. True, exclaimed the sage. But as a poor person, you would then also be able to buy on credit. Mendel the merchant thought about this and then shook his head in agreement. And with that, the Helm economy was born. From then on, the rich were always made to pay, while the poor were always given credit. Since the rich always bought more than the poor and paid in cash, the economy improved. And with the poor paying for their wares in credit, they received greater incentive to work harder to obtain money with which to pay their bills. And so, almost overnight, the economy of Helm improved, and when the poor became rich, they too paid in cash. I don't know. That doesn't sound much like a Helm story now, does it? No, it doesn't. It's a little out of the ordinary for Helm. You think so? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so shall we go on? Yes, we should. I was just waiting for you. Okay. So anyway, this one is called The Warrior of Helm. We got a few stories about warriors here. So, okay, and with what's going on today, this is not a bad set of stories for tonight. Okay, we go on. The Warrior of Helm. Once upon a time, in the little village of Helm, inflation had struck. Many of the farmers had to sell their worldly possessions just to survive. The things appeared to be getting even worse. One day, the villagers decided to call a meeting. The old sage of Helm, the wisest man in the village, sat at the head of the table as the elders of the little village of simple folks sat in despair. What are we going to do? Asked Velvel. Wait a minute, isn't last week Velvel was a horse, wasn't he? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, last week we did read a story where the horse was Velvel. I wonder if this is the same Velvel. I kind of doubt it. Well, you don't know. It is Helm after all. Okay, well, yeah, maybe. Okay. So anyway, What are we going to do? Asked Velvel, the cobbler, as he nervously rubbed his hands together. Many of us are on the verge of starvation and stay in our homes worrying. As a result, no one walks around anymore, and no one wears out their shoes, so even my business is getting worse and worse. Uncle the farmer spoke. Indeed, my wife and all our children sit at home all day worrying where our next kopeck is coming from. And I worry too, because I do not have the answer. Each stood up and explained how inflation had affected them and how each was worrying about what the next day held. Then finally, they all turned to the old sage of Helm and pleaded, "Tell us, old wise man, what can we do to stop all this worry?" The sage stroked his beard pensively and said, "It appears as if we have a real problem. Nevertheless, I think I have a plan. Staying home and worrying is wrong. If we didn't waste our time worrying, we could go out and rebuild our entire economy." They all nodded in agreement. Velvel the cobbler spoke up. "That is so true, old sage. But if we don't worry about the future, there may not be a future waiting for us." The old sage smiled warmly. "Ah, that's just the plan. We will hire Shepsel, who has never had a job. He is an excellent warrior. He will take on the task of worrying for all of us. Each of us will contribute 1 kopeck to Shepsel, who will worry for us the entire day. Then each of us will be free to go out of our homes and do a day's work, and in no time our troubles will be over." "That means," said the uncle, "that Shepsel will get over 100 kopecks from us to worry for us?" "That is correct," the old sage exclaimed. "But," shouted Chaim the fisherman, "if Shepsel earned 100 kopecks a day, what would he have to worry about?" "Ah," smiled the old sage, "that's just the point. Since none of us has any kopecks, we will only give him our pledge for the kopecks. Then he will have plenty to worry about." And so it was. Each of the villagers gave Shepsel a pledge for 1 kopeck for each day he would worry for them. Then each was able to leave their homes to continue earning a living. And as far as I know, Shepsel is still worrying for them, with those pledges tucked away in his pocket, because the economy of Helm soon recovered once more. Not too bad. Yeah, not too bad at all. Yeah. Okay, here's another story about worry. The Warriors of Helm. In the wonderful world of Helm, it was a well-known fact that the people worried. True, they were poor, but what did they actually worry about? Important things? Maybe. For example, if one Chelmite would meet a friend on the street, he might say, "Good morning, my friend. Do you think you will see the sun rise tomorrow?" The innocent soul would look startled and walk a few feet. Now, why did he ask such a question? Is it that I look ill? Does he think I will not live through the night? Or better still, does he feel there will be some great upheaval on this earth and maybe the sun will not rise tomorrow? And so they worried. They would worry if an expected blessed event would be a boy or a girl, or better, twins or triplets. After all, there was much they could find to worry about. All this worrying began to affect their well being. So they gathered in the home of the sage of Helm and asked his advice. "Tell us, dear sage, how can we stop worrying about so many things?" The old sage went into deep contemplation, then turned to his friends and said, "It is my opinion that you must hire a professional warrior." "Indeed, a professional warrior," they all shouted. "What wisdom! What foresight! All you have to do is send to the next village for a professional warrior, someone who really knows how to worry." "Ah, yes," they cried. "We have heard of them. They are magnificent. They worry so hard they moan and cry in anguish. They are wonderful." And so the villagers of Helm sent to the next village for a professional warrior. When the warrior arrived, he declared, "My fee is 10 gold coins each week. For this I will do all your worrying. None of you will have to worry again." The sage of Helm stepped forward and declared, "If we give you 10 golden coins each week, what will you have to worry about?" "On the contrary," the professional warrior declared, "most of your worries will disappear, and you will have only one worry from this day on." "And what will that be?" asked the old sage. "Simple," declared the warrior. "Your only worry will be how you will be able to raise the 10 gold coins for me each week." The Helmite smiled and realized that this was the solution to all their worries. And so, from that day on, the village of Helm, there was always a professional warrior. Oh, my goodness. You know, that reminds me of something that Barry Hart used to say. And what was that? I love this expression. He said, "Worry is like a rocking chair. You go and you go and you go and you get nowhere." I love that saying. Yeah, I bet you do. Okay, we go on to the next story. Okay, so we are done with the worry stories. This one's called "There's a Right Way and a Left Way." So, once upon a time, in the little village of Helm, a village known for the foolish souls that lived there, Abraham, the water carrier, had a problem. No matter where he sent his little son Aharon, the little fellow got lost. In desperation, he went to the old sage of Helm. "Here is my problem," Abraham exclaimed. "When I give little Aharon instructions on how to get to a certain farmhouse, he always makes a wrong turn. When I tell him to go right, he goes left. And when I tell him to go left, he goes right. No matter how hard he tries, he gets mixed up and always manages to get lost. Now, how could I stay in business if my son, who helps me earn my living, always delivers the water to the wrong house?" "How would it be," asked the old sage, "if we marked the letter right on his right shoe and the letter L on his left shoe? Then all he has to do is look down at his feet and he will know exactly which way to go." "Incredible! Amazing!" shrieked Abraham, kissing the hand of the old sage. He quickly ran back to his house and with white paint drew the letter R on one shoe and the letter L on the child's other shoe. "Now you should have no trouble following the directions I give you," said his father. Well, the following day, when he sent Aharon out to make deliveries, the little fellow got lost once more. "So how did you get confused this time?" demanded Abraham. The little one looked up and exclaimed, "My shoes were covered with mud and I could not see the letters." Abraham went back to the old sage and told him his problem. "That is so simple," commented the old sage. "All you have to do is take the shoes off the child and let him carry them in his hands. Then he will not get mud and cover over the markings." Abraham was so pleased, he ran home and told Aharon what to do and then sent him on another journey. As the sun fell behind the mountain, little Aharon did not return. Then, as the moon came out, Aharon arrived at the front door. "I got lost again," the little fellow exclaimed in tears. "How?" pleaded Mendel in despair as he looked at his son. I thought that was Abraham. Yeah, I think somebody misprinted that. Yeah, so, yeah, maybe we should put the right name in there. Yeah, I think we should. Okay, how? Pleaded Abraham in despair as he looked at his son, and it became apparent. Little Aharon stood there with his left shoe in his right hand and his right shoe in his left. Okay. I think it's time for a break. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is time for a break. Okay, we're going to take our break, and we'll be back in 6, and we finish up these stories for this evening. So please, everyone, stay tuned.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. the chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
It's intermission time, folks, so hurry, hurry, hurry. Step right over to our refreshment center for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, mouth-watering goodies, everything from a snack to a delicious full meal. At our refreshment center, you'll find a large variety of goodies to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, or your sweet tooth. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Visit our refreshment center now. The show starts in 5 minutes. The show starts in 4 minutes. The show starts in 3 minutes. The show starts in 2 minutes. The show starts in 1 minute. And now, on with the show.
And we are back, just as promised. You forgot to tell everybody. What did I forget to tell everybody? I got to meet your granddaughter yesterday. Oh, that's right. You did get to meet her for the first time yesterday. Yes, she was delightful. She pulled on my fur. She pulled my tie off. She pulled on my nose. We had a good time. She's a beautiful little girl. Okay, so anyway, let's get back to our stories. So, this one is called Traveling First Class. Well, the shamus, who would take care of the shul, had to go to a neighboring village. He went to the little train station where the Helmischer Express stopped twice a week. He purchased a ticket from the station master, and when the train arrived, he got on. Well, good for him. He got on. He's more than the guy from last week did. Yeah, that's true. Anyway, Velvel went into the first class section and sat in the first seat he saw. And then he reached into his pocket, took out his pipe, and began to puff away. Just a few minutes had passed when the man seated next to him touched him on the shoulder and said angrily, "Excuse me, my friend, you can't read that sign posted in front?" Velvel looked up quite unconcerned and snapped, "So, who's walking on the grass?" The man became angrier. "My friend, that sign says no smoking in the first class section, and you are smoking." Velvel did not answer. He just kept puffing on his pipe. "My friend," shouted the stranger, "if you do not stop smoking your pipe this second, I will tell the conductor to have you taken off the train." Velvel continued to ignore the now very angry man. In expiration, the man stood up, ran to the front of the car, and called the conductor over. "You see, Mr. Conductor, this man is smoking. He is breaking one of the rules you have set down." Velvel turned to the conductor and said, "He talks about me breaking the rules? Why, this man has a second-class ticket and is sitting in the first-class section. I demand he be removed from this car." The man's face turned red as he beat a hasty retreat out of the car and into the stuffy second-class section of the train. When Velvel was getting off the train, the stranger approached him. "Excuse me," he began. "Could you tell me if you are a mind reader? How did you know I had purchased a second-class ticket?" "I'm not a mind reader," said Velver. "It's just that while you were yelling, the tip of your ticket was sticking out of your pocket, and I noticed it was the same color as mine." That's a pretty smart guy. Yeah, it is pretty smart. Yeah. I never would have thought of that. Yeah. Most of us probably wouldn't. It's brilliant. Yes. Pretty good. Okay, so we go on to our next story. This story is called Twins Are Twins. In the village of Helm, there lived a couple in great need of money. "The only solution," the husband said, "is for me to go to the next village to see if I can earn a living there. You can be sure I will send you money when I find work, he told his wife. He tearfully left and started out for the next village. He walked and walked. Then, as night fell, he paused at the side of the road, took off his shoes, and laid his head down to rest. A short time later, a thief passed. Seeing the shoes next to the sleeping man, the thief picked them up in hopes of stealing them, but when he discovered they were worn and filled with holes, he put them back. Now, when the poor man had set aside his shoes, they pointed north, toward the next village. But when the thieves replaced them, he set them down in the opposite direction, which was back towards the village of Helm. When the man awoke, he looked at his shoes, which he remembered were pointing in the direction of the new village, so he headed in that direction. Of course, the direction led him right back to Helm. As he entered the village, he was amazed. Look at the streets. They are almost exactly like the streets in Helm, he said to himself. He walked a little further and discovered the shul. My goodness! This looks like our shul in Helm. Then he walked down the street on which he lived. I can't believe it. This street looks exactly like the street where I live. Discovering his own house, he mused. And wow, even this old house resembles my house to the letter. He knocked on the door just for curiosity to tell the owner of the house how much the house looked like his house. His wife came to the door. My goodness, he thought. Even the woman of the house resembles my wife. He was beside himself and began to think, what an amazing world we live in. Apparently, everything comes in pairs. This village is absolutely the twin of my village of Helm. Kind of a multiverse kind of thing. Yeah, I think, yeah. Okay. The shul is a perfect twin of the shul in my old village. The street, even my house is exactly the same, and miracle of miracles, even the woman of the house is the exact twin of my wife. As he stood there contemplating this marvel, his wife grew angrier and angrier at seeing her husband return so soon and without any money. No longer able to control her rage, she hit the poor soul with a frying pan. My goodness, the old timer screamed. And even her disposition is the same as my wife's. What an amazing world we live in! Oy. Okay. This one is called Watching the Stranger. Once upon a time, a stranger came to the village of Helm, and everyone was concerned. Maybe he is a thief, one of the wise men commented. Indeed, another added, or worse, maybe a kidnapper of children. What can we do? They wondered. So they went to the old sage of Helm to solve their problem. It's so simple, the old sage said. All we have to do is to hire someone to watch the stranger as long as he is in town. How brilliant, one said. Indeed, the others joined in. And so the oldest man in Helm was chosen for the honor. Now, what must I do? The old man questioned. You will stand under the street light every night and watch the house where the stranger is staying. When he comes out, you will follow him. If you see him stealing, you will call the police. If you see him kidnap someone, you will call us immediately. The first night, the old man stood under the light post and watched the stranger's house. But as the evening wore on, he became sleepy and fell to the ground. This is no good, shouted the wise men of Helm. You must stand erect all night to watch the stranger, they told the watchman. But my legs are weak, he exclaimed. You should have told us. We know how to solve that, they all agreed. They quickly took some rope and tied the old man tightly to the light post. Since I will be in this position all night long, exclaimed the old man, the light from the street lights will be in my eyes and hurt my vision. So they quickly got a piece of black cloth and placed it over his eyes. Ah, that is much better, the old watchman declared. The old watchman was now tied to the light post all night long so that he would remain erect, even if he fell asleep. And with the blindfold over his eyes, the light would not disturb him. Now they were confident the stranger would be watched all night long. In a few days, the stranger harmlessly left the village of Helm. When the wise men met at their next council meeting, they unanimously agreed that their wisdom was unmatched because their plan must have worked. The stranger, knowing someone was watching him all night long, did not steal or kidnap anyone. And so, from that day on, whenever a stranger came to the village of Helm, a watchman was tied to the light post and a black cloth placed over his eyes so he could watch everything the stranger did and run to the police if necessary. What do you think of that, huh? Well, guess what, folks? We have come to the end of the book. It's too bad, too. These were good stories. I was enjoying reading them to you. But as all things, this one must come to an end, and now we have to find another book to read. And hopefully we can find one by next week. So anyway, don't forget to watch on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. is the Torah study in depth with Rabbi A. And on Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern is Kabbalat and Ma'ariv, the Shabbat service. And then Shabbat morning at 10 a.m. Eastern is Shachrit and Musaf. So, until the next time, my dear friends, we will simply say, Laila Tov.